Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Will coming out of the Multidimensional Guide and Pleiadic channel, and I'm here to help you awaken, heal, and expand your consciousness. I'm also here to help you guide you into a deeper connection with your higher self and your spirit guides team. So I've co-created with some of you this new course called Introduction to Channeling. And it's a 3-module course that will guide you into connecting and channeling your higher self and your spirit guides team, whether you have a connection with the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, Archangel Michael, Raphael, Yeshua, you name it. The course is divided in 3 modules and 7 lessons. So the video after this introduction is lesson number 1 for free for you to just have a glimpse and a taste of what the course is like. And no, I am not promising you that after those 3 modules, you will be channeling the whole universe, although that is possible because I believe everything is possible. But the main intention of this course, it's 3 things. First one, to deepen your knowledge around the theme of channeling, because knowledge is your superpower, and oftentimes knowledge is the catalyst for more expansion. And number 2, to expand your awareness. As you expand your awareness, you open up and you clear the channel to receive information. And if you're consciously going through this ascension process, chances are that your consciousness is expanding every day more and more. So you're ready for this. And number 3, to provide you with tools for self-practice so that you can continue to develop your channeling skills, because spoiler alert, this is one of the things I say in the course, channeling is a journey. Just like the healing process is a journey, the spiritual awakening is a journey, the ascension process is a journey. So what is a better time for you to start this journey than now? I hope you enjoyed the first lesson, and if you're interested in continuing with the course, you can go to www.willcaminata.com/intro channeling. You'll find the links in the description depending on when you're watching or listening to this, and I am looking forward to guiding you and connecting with you. Much love. Enjoy the lesson. You're already channeling. So this is lesson 1, just to say that you're already channeling. Whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you're intentional about it or not, you're already channeling. And so you might be asking, okay, well, how? How is that? So I'll give you just some examples and some ideas to show you that you're already channeling. So when you have ideas that pop up out of the blue, or the so-called downloads, right? You're channeling from the 6th dimension and beyond, because the 6th dimension is the realm of sacred geometry and the realm of all things are already created. And so you're channeling from that space where all things are already created, including yourself. There is a light body version of yourself in the 6th dimension, which we call Ka. And it's basically the non-physical, non-incarnated version of yourself. And you are the manifestation, the physical manifestation of that version here in the 3rd dimension. So when you're channeling ideas, you're basically receiving that information so that you can manifest that. So when you have that idea to start a podcast, to start a business, and then you have the visions for the logo, you have the visions for the colors that you want to use in your branding, or even when you just have that idea to write a book, write a song, collaborate with somebody. So I'll give you just a quick example. This morning, just before I woke up, I was dreaming, and a melody came up in my dream with a few words. And in my dream, I took my phone and I recorded it so I wouldn't forget the melody. And that's exactly what I did after I got up, and my voice was better, not like sleeping voice. I recorded on my phone so I wouldn't forget. Now, whether this is going to be an actual song produced, it kind of doesn't matter because I've already channeled that first seed of creation, and I've already manifested because I sounded out and I put it on my phone. So when you look at ideas and channeling from that perspective, it is always a co-creation. It's a co-creation with the higher dimensions. It's a co-creation with your spirit. Okay. Visions as well. It's also another way that you are already channeling. So whether we're talking visions in your dreams or visions in your meditations, that is a way that you're channeling as well. And just the clear knowing too. Sometimes you just know, you have to approach that person and talk and say hello. You know that, this course was right for you. And it's just that really clear knowing that you almost can't rationalize or explain with words, but you just know it. That's when you're channeling. And obviously, intuitive nudges too, when you receive that really quick. Sometimes it can be a message that's clear, but it can also be just a mixture of all that, a clear knowing or a vision. So these intuitive nudges, in these moments of intuitive nudges, you're already channeling, you're channeling. And the clear guidance as well, that inner voice that sometimes you hear and you know, so clear knowing, you know that it's a guidance, it's your inner guidance, it's not your ego. And you just know there's something in there. Sometimes it can be a very simple message. I personally believe that messages from spirit are usually very simple and very straightforward. We make it complicated. We get them confused, but usually, at least for me, they're very simple and very straightforward. Also, writing and journaling is it's such a great way to practice channeling, and we're going to talk about this in the future modules, in the future lessons. But writing is a tool for you to practice channeling, because when you're journaling and when you're free writing, you're actually tapping into your subconscious mind, connecting with your heart. And that's when you're opening up the channel so that spirit can communicate through you. And so, having said all that, you might be asking, how can I channel then more consciously and intentionally? How can I be more conscious and more intentional about channeling? And this is what we're going to talk about in this module. And so basically, I just want to give you like a definition, my own definition, very simple definition of what is channeling. So for me, channeling is you being open, you as this human form, this multidimensional being that you are, being open to receive and or deliver messages, receive ideas, and receive information, i.e., light, or vice versa. The Pleiadians say that light is information. So when you're receiving light, you're receiving information from the spiritual realm, from the higher dimensions. Okay, so it's literally just to be a channel to receive, and if you choose to deliver as well. And it's a continuous journey to clear and expand this channel. So imagine, this tube that is your channel,
And you constantly have to clear it so that you can receive that information, that those ideas, that light, and also continue to expand, both in width and length. Okay. Um, and the really important thing to remember is that channeling is a journey, just like the spiritual awakening is a journey. We tend to see sometimes a spiritual awakening as one moment in your lifetime that you awaken and that's it. But the spiritual awakening is a journey. From my perspective, the healing journey is definitely a journey. The healing process is definitely a journey, and channeling is also a journey. You're continuing to expand your consciousness, expand your awareness, continue to open your heart. So your heart container, and we're going to talk about your heart container also in future lessons, but it continues to expand. Okay, so channeling is a journey. There isn't a destination. And so the examples I gave you before, and they are examples for you to understand that we are all channeling, but we're channeling to different levels and different extent because it's a journey. Once you're consciously walking through this journey, through this path, then it's inevitable that you're going to expand and grow. The other two things to remember too is that it's a relationship that you develop, just like a friendship, right? In the beginning of the friendship, um, you may not know the other person as well as after a few years, but you feel that connection and you just build that trust, right? It's all about building trust and continue to nurture that unconditional love. So the channeling journey is really just like a relationship, just like a friendship that you develop. And the other really important thing to remember too is that you are not separate from other beings, especially from your higher self. And we're going to talk about the higher self in a few lessons ahead. But just know that we are not separate at all. We are one. So we are all connected. So whatever being you're channeling, especially your higher self, you're not separate from them. They are not necessarily better than you. They might be in a different dimension, in a different realm, but they see us, your spirit guides see you as equals. Okay. And this is a question that I get asked a lot. And it's how to differentiate the voice of the ego versus the voice of spirit, right? Because especially in the beginning of this journey, we tend to doubt because we think, oh no, I'm making this up. And spoiler alert, when you're channeling, you're making it up too, because that's a way for you to receive more and more information. Imagination, by the way, is a form of channeling, right? So when you're imagining things, whether you think you're thinking you're visualizing in the meditation or you're just imagining things, that is a channel for more information to be poured in. Okay. So how to differentiate the voice of the ego and the voice of the spirit. So the voice of the ego, and I just want to preface this by saying we're not really saying the ego is the bad guy and is the villain of the story, but the ego is a 3D construct and the ego wants to protect you. Okay, the ego wants you to stay where you are. The ego doesn't really want you to grow. The ego wants to protect you, wants you to stay where you are because it's comfortable. Okay, and it's known territory too. But in general, the voice of the ego will sound definitely like fear, judgment, worry. There's a sense of urgency, maybe bossy. Maybe there's a serious tone. Maybe it feels heavy. Maybe it's confusing. So just like I said a few minutes ago, for me, the voice of the spirit or the messages are usually clear and straight to the point and simple, sometimes to the point that it's too simple that then your ego mind goes, well, that's too simple. Like, give me more, right? But yeah, that's one of the main differences. The ego, the voice of the ego might be confusing to you, might be too complicated. And so the voice of the spirit is the opposite of that. And the voice of the spirit, rule of thumb, will always sound loving, will always vibrate in love. It will feel comforting to your heart. It will feel non-judgmental. It feels non-urgent. Okay. It feels calm. It might even feel funny. The Pleiadians are very playful, very funny. It feels light as well. It again, it's simple. It might feel playful, and it feels like guidance more than command. Like you have to do certain things. You have to do this. It's more like a nudge, more like, we encourage you to consider this or that. Okay, so these are the main differences. And the thing to remember too is spirit will always respect your free will. Okay, and this is something we're going to talk about too. You're always in charge. You have your free will, and spirit will never interfere your free will. Okay. And lastly, in this lesson, I just want to remind you that channeling is a process of getting you, or the ego, the small you, out of the way as much as possible. We're not necessarily going to be completely out of the ego, but if the ego is on the way of this tube, of this channel, it's going to be hard for you to have those downloads and receive pure light, pure information. Okay. And like I said, it's a process and it's a journey. It could be that in the beginning, your ego is a little louder and you might have certain bias. And that's why sometimes you channel information that is maybe half of the information, or you can't really access that kind of information because your ego is there kind of blocking this passage. And again, we're not necessarily making the ego as the bad guy, because we do need an amount of ego when you're channeling, just to make sense of things, just to remember things and to actually deliver. If you're someone who is interested in speaking what you're receiving, then you will need your ego, but in a very like small percentage, right? So what I'm seeing is those buttons of in a music production desk. You have to just tune it down, the ego, almost to zero, and then amp it up, the voice of the spirit. Okay. So this is it for lesson 1, and I'll see you soon for lesson 2.